Same.
But like, there's no future that exists for me which has any kind of stability. There just isn't for me. Like, I speak to my mom and she's like, well, and because she's from a different generation, she says, well, you could also move somewhere that's more affordable. And I'm like, where? Like, I mean, and I could, that's true.
Which is what we did, essentially.
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Because you don't spend as much.
Yeah, but I don't have the resources that you have.
Of course.
They don't exist for me.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, I could do that, but I've boxed myself in. And it's me. This isn't a concern that anyone needs to, you can have empathy for it. No one needs to share this with me. But I think a lot of people who make music have a similar experience of, well, or anyone who's freelance, really. You don't even need to be a musician, but I actually would move. I'd move back to England. I'd go to Manchester even. I'd fucking do a line. I'd fucking dive in. But the transferability of the skills you create, which are based, and you'll be experiencing this loads, I'm sure, where you're living now, is like, who's Johnny Payne where you live now?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you you're a musician. And so there is that Faustian bargain. And so I think the malaise, the serious nature of sort of like the white noise that's around us is a little bit that. I think it's age too.
Yeah.
But I also think, there's it never should be, what I'm talking about, at least, should never be seen as something that is overwhelming. I just think it's just there,
Yeah, and to be fair, like, we spoke a little bit about this like last night, but it's like, honestly, the idea of having a lot of money or something, as great as it would be, I'm also not sure about that. Like, I kind of
I'd like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
I would just like. You do speak from a position of privilege with this.
Well, of course I do, but I also speak from someone who doesn't have much money. Like, I have privilege.
Yeah.
But I live definitely like within my means.
You certainly are an ascetic in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just mean, like, I know people who very close to me in my life who have money.
Yeah.
Like, serious money. And there's a certain energy around it that is like, they don't necessarily like understand, like, I don't know. It's almost a little bit like money becomes too much of what their life is about because they have it.
That makes sense. I can understand that. I've certainly been around and been
they
close
talk
to
a
people.
lot about it.
Yeah,
they talk about leveling up to the next tax bracket,
Yeah.
So they don't have to pay so much in taxes and they're making more. And they don't seem like their life is that much better, is what I mean. Like, it seems like if I can afford to go to a restaurant and have a nice meal, but I can only afford to do that maybe once a month.
Yeah.
And they work the X amount harder and make more, and they can do it like 3 times a week. I don't know if that's necessarily like worth it for me.
I'll just shock you right now and tell you that I think that I can't think of the last time I enjoyed going to a restaurant.
Right.
I think that add that to the white noise, because I don't think it's easy. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry. I think proprietors of businesses, unless you're like a chain, like it's not sustainable anymore post-COVID. I mean, I've not had a nice meal. Probably if I was in New York maybe or something. But even when I was down in LA last time, I was like, what the hell? What is going on?
Yeah.
I'll just get me a burrito.
I agree. That's the same. You know what, man? You're really speaking my language here.
Yeah, of course.
Because like, even just being here like this weekend, I'm kind of like, just going out, spending money at these places and doing stuff. And I'm like, for what?
Last night we were out in a bar.
Yeah.
It was essentially like a frat bar.
Uh-huh.
And you could get like, let's just fucking get into this.
That's what I'm doing.
Like, we're there. I bought at one point 2 Miller High Lifes and 2 tequilas for me and you, and it was $38
I know.
or something.
Yeah, I know.
That should be $12.
I got Alex and I dinner before I met you from Thai food. We were 2 dishes. 2. A pad thai and a fucking curry with a side of rice because they don't give you rice. $57.50.
From Bob Light's Thai food?
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
$57.50.
I can make a mean Thai
I'm sure
curry.
you could, but like we just arrived.
No, there's nothing you can do in that situation.
But like, anyway. I know what you mean.
I broke you.
I'm not trying to, it's 100% from a place of privilege to speak about, I don't really even want money, you know? And that's not what I'm getting at. But I actually, like, what I'm saying is that, like, I'm okay with just having enough to live.
That being said, though, like I would 100% trade my life for your life.
Sure. Well, that's kind of you to say.
Well,
But,
yeah, I would.
I mean,
I don't know if I'd be happier, but I definitely would like trade it.
I mean, man, it's like on paper, like it's an amazingly beautiful thing. I feel so lucky and privileged, but
Yeah.
like the way in which I've done this is like I live with my parents
Yes.
on their property.
No, of course, yeah.
I spent a year building the house. We're in total debt from that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like we have this beautiful place, but what I'm trying to say is that we sit there, Alex and I, and we still don't really totally feel like we're like, fuck yeah.
Totally.
We said this the other day. We're like, we haven't had that moment where we're like, holy shit, this is sick. You know what I mean? Which
Yeah.
sounds like so privileged. Like,
No, I
imagine
get
what
it.
people.
No, I get
But,
it.
you know, we're talking honestly.
Yeah.
And it's like, I say all the time, fuck, I miss Kit so much.
Of course.
Twice a week. I'm like, oh, I miss our old apartment.
I also completely can, and I can say with absolute certainty, like I come back to this apartment sometimes, and
Oh,
I'm like,
man.
I fucking love it.
I know.
You know?
Walk out to your local bar,
Yeah.
like get a coffee, like it's kind of like
For sure.
It's different. Whatever. There's so many pros and cons to both lives, and like you know, I know it's going to kick in for me at some point, and it's going to be amazing. And like I'm building a little room where I can record. And being able to...
Do you want me to get you that Terminator statue for
Yeah,
your
I do,
man
for
cave?
Man Cave. And being able to travel and produce records and work on music is what I want to do. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I want to do.
Well, you're really good at it.
And that's what... So, like, that is the way in which living in the remote place
Makes
where I do
sense.
can happen.
So, like, you're almost kind of like, we're kind of, we can, like, break it down here.
Yeah.
So you're kind of in a situation where, like, you've made the jump,
Yeah.
but you've made it, like... kind of preemptively
Yeah.
before you can establish.
Yeah, before I I'm set up with
but
the
you're
life I
set
want.
up with it.
Set up with that part of it.
Yeah. And then like
The other parts.
yeah. Whereas I in the kind of on a similar track to
Yeah.
you, like haven't made that jump. It would be a similar one to make.
Yeah.
I would love to live where you live.
Yeah.
But if I made it now, I'd be fucked. Like I'm like literally in studios working. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, I kind of think that like, I assume that is in my mind, I'm like learning a trade.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, I'm going to do this so that I can create mobility. You know?
Right.
But that
Right.
mobility
Right.
might never come.
Yeah.
You know? And then I've just kind of like, it's 10 years later and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in this apartment still. So I think that it's like, you know,
Yeah.
it's all a gamble.
100%.
You know?
I would have stayed at that kid's apartment another 5 years
It
for
was a
sure.
particularly nice apartment.
For sure. And been exactly where you are right now.
But I
like-
think that the like, and then this is kind of speaking to like relationships too. The ideal way to drop into the change is kind of to be, you know, to do it as a team. You know, that's the ideal way to do it.
Yeah. No,
Maybe
it's-
this is a Patreon episode. This feels like a Patreon episode.
I don't know if people are actually though. You know what this feels like is the like sort of like life stuff. It sounds like the guy on Instagram. This is what people want to hear, just kind of like life stuff. I
Well, the
feel
guy
like.
on Instagram that you sent me this
Yeah,
morning.
let's talk
so we
about
okay.
it.
So
Can
we
you
went
pass me
out.
a beer. From
Yeah,
there? I'll get it.
You fucking do that to me. Fucking pass me a beer.
Well, I didn't want to fuck
pass
with the
me a
cord.
fucking,
Okay,
no, dude, I'm joking. Of course I can. Johnny,
Thank you.
I think you want the other one. I don't think you want that one. They're not as good. You want that? Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Okay, I'm gonna have this one then. So Johnny, right now, he's gone. He's brought some beers over, and he's going for. I'm going for. They're both local. You went local with it all.
I did.
So
There's one called an East Van Pilsner.
okay.
Have you had it?
No, but I do like this Steamworks Pilsner shout out. We should get sponsored by one of these companies.
That's the other thing I'm going to do. I'm going to email everyone.
Yeah, everyone.
Literally everyone, and say we have this like quote unquote culty podcast. We'll talk about it all the time. We'll say
Yeah.
what you want us to say.
I'll
whatever.
say anything.
Yeah,
Literally anything.
Yeah, and me
I'll
too.
tell you that the new Behringer Neve stereo compressor is better than the original 33609. If I can get one. If they give me one.
yeah.
Hell, I'll do anything you want.
So this guy on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, so this guy on
shit
Instagram.
really gets me like.
So we went out last night because we don't see each other very much because we don't live in the same place. We speak on the phone, but like our entire friendship's basically been destroyed by this podcast because we don't actually spend any time being friends. We just do the podcast.
It's a lot of fun though.
Yeah, it's great.
I have a lot more fun doing this than hanging out with my other friend. A lot of my other friends.
I have no other friends.
But like I get fired up because it's like, you know, there's a performative element and we get to be friends.
And then, like, we know now we have, like, this trusting community of people who are kind of rooting for us, really. And it's nice to
sure
be able
hope
to
so,
talk. Well, we're talking about this kind of stuff.
We need all the help we can get here.
But we went out last night. I was in the studio recording.
Yeah.
Finished around 8, came and met you. We were going to record a podcast, but I don't think either of us could be fucking bothered.
Yeah, so if there isn't one at some point...
I'm going to sort it out.